Welcome to Raw Machines, a journey to discover the most impressive processes around the world. In this episode, we will follow the marvelous journey of a single log, from when it falls deep in the forest until it becomes perfect sawn lumber in some of the most modern mills in the United States. This is not just a story of harvesting and processing, but a symphony between nature, machinery, and human ingenuity. Let's start right now. In the misty morning of the Pacific Northwest, the loggers begin their new workday. The steep, slippery forest terrain, with its gigantic trees, forces them to use an ancient skill, the springboard. This is a plank they attach to the trunk, creating a safe platform nearly 2 meters above the ground. This allows them to avoid the flared base of the tree, where the grain is twisted and prone to splintering. This technique originated in the 19th century and has since become a symbol of the American logger, skillful, courageous, and innovative. When the saw touches the wood, every movement unfolds like a geometry problem. First is the face cut, or notch. Two cuts create an opening angle of approximately 70 degrees, 90 degrees. This determines the direction the tree will fall. Next is the back cut, performed on the opposite side of the face cut. The logger skillfully leaves a thin section of wood called the hinge. This hinge will guide the tree safely down, keeping it directed. Finally, they insert wedges into the saw cut. A small detail, but the culmination of experience. These plastic or wooden wedges widen the cut, prevent the saw blade from getting pinched, and simultaneously direct the tree to fall precisely as intended. Once the trees are felled, they are cut into segments and loaded onto specialized trucks. These are not ordinary flatbeds. They are designed to bear enormous payloads, with each truck capable of carrying between 25 to 30 tons of wood. The drivers are veterans of the transportation industry. They know exactly which gear to select before a slope appears, whether to let the engine roar or brake carefully to avoid brake fade halfway down a mountainside.
We're taking them up to Hull Oakses and Nathan's going to bark them, and then they're going to run them back out on the chain, and Danny's going to set them off. And we're hauling them over to Philomath High School for Lily's forestry class, and we're going to buck them into 10-foot blocks.
As the convoy leaves the forest, we know the wood's journey has just begun. From here, the lumber will head to the Wagenbros lumber mill, where it will be reborn in a new form.
Compliments of David Hull Tree Farms and Hull Oaks Lumber Company and H&B Logging. So if any of you folks show up at the Philomath Forestry's home competition on March 14th, you'll see these. Just setting 4 on, going to chain them down, and we're taking them up to Hull Oakses to the sawmill. And
Wagenbros. Lumber is a family business that has existed for over 70 years. Through the decades, they have witnessed the entire era of change in the American timber industry, from the axe to the chainsaw, and now to the age of computers and laser sensors. But no matter how much the technology has changed, the original spirit remains. It's not just about sawing wood, it's about understanding wood. When the truck stops in front of the gate, the gantry crane begins its work. It moves on the tracks above, lowering its pair of steel hooks, embracing the tens of tons of wood and lifting the entire load effortlessly. In a matter of seconds, the entire truck is unloaded. Next, the merchandiser scans each log, recording its shape, curvature, and defects. The computer immediately analyzes and decides how many segments should this log be cut into, and what length is most optimal. This algorithm has replaced hours of manual, visual measurement, quickly providing the most productive and high-quality cutting plan. Subsequently, the logs are moved to the debarking area. Large metal rotating drums operate loudly, stripping away the rough outer bark, removing grit and soil. The bark is not discarded. It is collected to fuel the boiler, providing heat for the entire mill. Once the logs have been cleaned, they move into the main sawing area, the heart of the mill. Here, the hew saw cuts the round logs into squared blocks, called square cants. The saw blades are thin, spinning so fast that the naked eye only sees a blurry silver streak. The operator stands in a glass cabin, hands on the control panel, observing the screens. Although the computer does most of the work, their eyes never leave the wood. After cutting, the squared wood blocks, cants, are moved to the industrial kiln dryer. Here, steam, temperature, and time are controlled precisely down to the minute. Each batch of lumber is placed in the kiln for 3 to 5 days, depending on the wood species and initial moisture content. Hundreds of sensors monitor continuously. If the heat is too high, the wood can crack. If too low, the remaining moisture will cause it to warp later. In the past, people had to air dry wood outdoors for an entire season, watching the sun and rain, hoping for favorable weather. Now, everything is within reach. It is still a natural process, but guided by science. From the kilns, the boards are transferred to the planer mill. Here they pass through a series of steel knife heads rotating at over 10,000 revolutions per minute. All 4 faces of each board are quickly planed smooth, becoming as flat as glass. The technician stands at the end of the line, checking each board by hand. Although everything is measured by sensors, their fingers remain the ultimate gauge for confirming the wood's quality. Finally, the finished boards are gathered into bundles, securely fastened with steel or plastic strapping, and wrapped in a protective layer to ensure safety during transportation. Each bundle of wood will now be lifted onto rail cars and trucks, beginning a new journey, leaving the United States, heading toward various construction projects and homes across the world. Looking at it from a distance, the entire Wagenbroga's production line operates like a living organism, rhythmic, precise, and efficient. But the most remarkable aspect is not the machinery itself, but the way humans and technology merge as one. Here, technology does not replace the human hand. It simply extends their capabilities, helping them perform better than before. Now, we will leave the cool, damp Washington state and head south, where the McDixen Mill stands amidst the red earth, bearing the silhouette of a traditional industrial monument. This mill is not just a place where wood is sawn. It is a testament to how one family, across generations, has preserved a craft, a style of labor, and a simple belief that the true beauty of wood lies in how deeply man understands it. In the morning, trucks queue up at the mill gate. Each trip brings logs freshly harvested from the surrounding forests. The rotating crane slowly places each log down in the yard, where they will be sorted. The log yard manager has over 30 years of experience. A quick glance is enough to know which logs are suitable for beams, which are for furniture, and which are only suitable for pulp. From the sorting yard, the wood passes through the rotating drum debarker. The rough outer bark is stripped away, revealing the lighter colored grain within, raw yet full of potential. Immediately after, a 3D laser scanning system scans the length of the log. The display screen appears like a cross-sectional scan, showing every growth ring, every knot, and every hollow core. The computer system calculates the optimal cutting solution in mere seconds. That is the moment where science intervenes in art, and the two become one. After passing through the Bandmill, the log has now become squared wood blocks, called a cant. The core has been basically shaped, but to become a finished board, it needs a series of further steps. That is the task of the secondary cutting department. The cants are routed to the gang saw, where dozens of saw blades operate in parallel, splitting the wood block into multiple uniform boards in a single pass. From the gang saw, the boards continue through the edger to finalize their shape. Two vertical saw blades run parallel along both sides, removing the bark or uneven wood edges. Each board that passes through is scanned by sensors, precisely identifying where trimming is needed. Finally comes the trimmer, the standardized length cutting stage. Here, high-speed rotating saw blades trim each end of the board, ensuring every piece meets the standards of 8 foot, 10 foot, or 12 foot, depending on the intended use. The leftover wood ends are not discarded. They are collected to be chipped or ground into biofuel pellets, which McDixen uses to fire the drying kilns in the mill itself. After the trimming stage, the boards are moved to the bin sorter system. When a bin is full, a mechanical mechanism automatically opens the bottom, dropping the entire stack of boards onto the chain conveyor below. At the stacking stage, the automatic system intersperses each layer of boards with kiln sticks, or stickers. This is a small but crucial detail that allows air to circulate easily, ensuring that heat and moisture are evenly distributed throughout the lumber stack. From here, the log is transferred to the main sawing area, handled by the Bandmill. The saw blade is thin and long, like a ribbon of steel, spinning at extremely high speeds. This very design helps minimize wood loss. Each cut removes only a tiny amount. After stacking, the wood is transferred into the kiln dryer, massive sealed drying ovens. Inside, the temperature and humidity are strictly controlled by computers. This process lasts for several days, reducing the wood's moisture content to the ideal level, approximately 12 to 15%. At that level, the wood is dry enough not to warp, yet alive enough not to crack. The stacks of wood leaving the kiln are drier and lighter, but to become perfect products, they still must go through one more stage: planing. At McDixen, the planing area is located on the eastern edge of the mill, separate from the sawing and kiln areas. The atmosphere here is distinctly different, less dusty, brighter, and carrying the faint warm scent of dry wood. Each board is planed on all four sides: the top face, bottom face, and both edges. Every steel blade, hard as a samurai sword, shaves off a thin layer of just a few millimeters, just enough to smooth the surface without losing the natural structure of the wood grain. After planing, every board is scanned for size and flatness. The laser sensor system measures the error tolerance in just hundredths of a millimeter. Boards that do not meet the standard are removed for adjustment or replaning. Everything is recorded with a code number printed directly onto the board face, a testament to McDixen's rigorous quality control process. Finishing the planing process, the wood is blown clean of dust, sorted into stacks, and then sent through the automated grading and packaging system. A robotic arm gently lifts each board, places it onto a pallet, wraps it with a protective film, and prints a QR code label. The phrase McDixen Lumber since 1919 appears on every package, simple, yet carrying the weight of an entire century in the trade. Looking at the neatly stacked packages of lumber, no one would recognize them as the rough logs once found in the forest. Through many stages, cutting, drying, planing, they now take on a new form, clean, refined, ready to become house frames, flooring, or furniture all over the world. From the western forests, our journey continues to a new land. That is Woodmill, Latvia, the industrial pride of Northern Europe. Woodmill, Latvia was established in the early 21st century, when the Baltic region became a central supplier of biomass energy to Europe. This mill specializes in processing high-quality firewood, a seemingly simple product, but one that demands rigorous precision. Each log is fed into a poleaxe splitting machine from Finland. A sensor system quickly scans it, determines its size and curvature, and then hydraulic arms split it in half or quarters with nearly 20 tons of force. The split firewood then goes straight into the 3.5 Staller industrial kiln dryer. Heat is generated from the bark, chips, and sawdust itself. For 3 days, sensors monitor the process minute by minute until the residual moisture content is only 15%. At this point, the firewood burns cleanly, without smoke or residue, meeting European standards for bioenergy. The mill operates year-round on a circular biomass heat supply with near-zero emissions. From splitting to packaging, all data is digitized. On every bag of firewood shipped to Germany or Sweden is a QR code that records the entire journey. From the original forest to the kiln, that is the hallmark of the Nordic spirit. Not just doing it right, but doing it precisely down to the last detail. From the old-growth forests of Oregon to the mill in Latvia, the journey of wood is the journey of humanity itself, moving from the crude to the refined, from muscle power to the intelligence of machinery. But no matter where we are, whether in an American forest or a European plain, one constant remains. Wood always carries the breath of human endeavor. The loggers in Washington, with their springboards and chainsaws, have preserved the pioneer spirit, strong and brave. The engineers at McDixen, amidst the sound of dozens of steel saw blades, still patiently touch the surface of the wood to check for smoothness. And in faraway Latvia, the workers operating the Palax system no longer wield saws, but they maintain respect in every split, every precise figure displayed on the computer screen. In every location, humanity and technology are not opposites. Technology only extends the human hand, making workers stronger, more precise, safer, and more efficient. And the human hand, in turn, keeps a soul in the technology, preventing it from becoming an emotionless machine. That is what humanity and the forest have taught each other over the centuries. That development does not equate to destruction, and modernity does not mean forgetting our roots. In every board, every piece of firewood, every mechanical rhythm, we hear the echo of a long legacy. A legacy of labor, ingenuity, and respect for nature. And as the truck carrying the final wood bundles leaves the mill, we know that this journey is not over. Those logs will travel everywhere, becoming house pillars, floors, desks, or firewood in a winter hearth. Wherever wood exists, a piece of the spirit of the people who created it remains. Thank you for listening to the end of the story. If you also enjoy similar videos, please hit the like button, share, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any fascinating stories to come. Raw Machines says goodbye and see you next time.